Hey beauties, good evening to you. I was scrolling TikTok and this evening and I saw the Prime Minister talking at some sort of a conference or meeting, you know, I guess usually with, the different political parties when they will have their little meetings. Yes, beautiful people. I was listening to the Prime Minister talking at some sort of a meeting, and there was a clipping that I came across. And in that clipping, he was saying, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, that by the sweat of one's brow, they shall eat bread. So they are the party that subscribe to, they are the party, that is JLP, he's saying, that advocates, they're the party that promulgates by the sweat of one's brow, he or she shall certainly eat bread. In fact, he had an adage, he added it and made this other comment that they're the party that advocates that hard work, one must be rewarded through hard work. And then he talked about, like, he hinted on investments. This is not the first time because, sometimes I'm reading maybe some newspaper article and whatnot, and you'll be seeing him talking about investments. I suppose this is something that has been introduced to him for a while, and he will intermittently, I've heard him, seen it, written up in these newspaper articles from time to time, him telling people to make some investments in different companies and so on that he considers lucrative, viable, and profitable to the Jamaican people. And as I listened to him speaking and saying that by the sweat of one's brow, he or she shall eat bread, and that hard work will be rewarded, in due season, I said to myself, boy, I would love to see those words come into action, especially as it regards public sector workers. Many of us are like Superman, like Batman. We work tirelessly. We work very hard because we give of our best. We believe in, the aiding or and abetting, as they would say, but in a good way, the building up of the Jamaica's kingdom, let me put it that way with a common K, and the tearing down of anything that will seek to disrupt, that will seek to rot, that will seek to create some sort of decadence to the wholeness of our country. And wholeness as in WHOLENESS, please. There is no pun intended, absolutely not. To the survival, and more than just survival, I don't believe in us just surviving. I believe in us doing well in our country. So, Prime Minister, with all due respect, I would love to see that, scripture being really enacted in our lives in terms of, by the sweat of one's brow they shall eat bread. We understand that, but predominantly, and when I say that, I'm not just talking about you just getting your basic salary and a basic pay, and a little benefit here and there. I'm talking about that is a very magnolious scripture, grandiose one, in fact, one that is really saying that when you work hard and you work smart, then you should be rewarded abundantly, because you would have sown abundantly. So he that sows abundantly will reap abundantly. But if you sow sparingly, you reap sparingly. And sparingly is not indicative of by the sweat of one's brow. When he talks about sweat, remember when he talked about Jesus, sweat was like drops of blood, because he really, he agonized for the people. He agonized with what it is that he was going to do for the people. So that was a thought that was like, a man doing construction work 24/7, 48/14 non-stop in the hot, boiling sun. By the sweat of one's brow, we certainly should and must eat proper bread. By the sweat of one's brow. I would love to see that play out, Prime Minister, that as hard workers we are remunerated properly. Not just talk, we must see it in our salaries, we must see it in benefits. Far too long Jamaican people have just undergone poverty after poverty after poverty, after suffering after suffering after suffering after suffering. We are tired of it. Sorry. The Jamaican people want caviar. They want steak to be their mainstay. Not just the tin things, not just the mediocre things, not the mediocre pay. They're tired of the low wages, the low salaries, the low life, the decadence, the decadent life. So if you are the party and you're in government right now, then let us see you make waves, make moves to make our country and the people great. I can't say again because I don't think there was ever such a time. I'm listening to your counterpart from the other side making mention that he would, if they're the party to win, that they would make blue collar workers millionaires, meaning that they do very well. Because I know some people have a different understanding of the whole millionaire status. He would put contract workers on staff, and we're not talking about just the ancillary staff and the lower end of the spectrum, those in middle and those up who are, on contract. And there are other things that he spoke about. We don't know if it is political. He could be sincere. Who knows? We don't even know a man's heart because he's out in the wilderness. And as they say, when you're out in the wilderness, it's easy to talk and to see all the wrongdoings. But when you're in, it's a completely different game altogether. But sir, you said you're the party of this. Go down in history as a great leader. Try and see if you can start the fire for that, Prime Minister. Don't let the people just have you as somebody who didn't keep his word, or you barely gave anything and people barely benefited. It's like you don't want them to liken you unto a Cain. Let them liken you unto an Abel. Abel gave of his best and he gave bountifully. Cain gave of his worst and he gave sparingly. Grudgingly, begrudgingly he gave, not with a willing heart. What left him coming like the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Zealots and the scribes? So even though they would have thrown more than the widow's mite, so to speak, if we were to look at it from cash value, they waited until they gave their what left sort of a thing. Even if their what left was a lot of money, could have been even in the millions, but it's like they considered God last. They never had reverence, they didn't revere, they never had regard, they didn't honor God. By the sweat of one's brow, by the hard work of the Jamaican people, the public sector workers, let them get a very good salary. You guys, and you talk about, you're going to basically harness good talent. Do you know how many of us are gifted and talented? Do you know how many of us are gifted and talented? We have the right attitude, we have the right everything that is needed. But because we're not an auntie, uncle, brother, sister, cousin or friend, we can't seem to climb over the mountain. The monkey's just on our backs. Sir, please keep your word. I can only plead. I can only ask and beseech of you. But it is for you to do it well. The reality is, you can definitely ignore what I'm promulgating. It's just that it would affect you in terms of how people recognize you as a leader. If you're a man of your word, you guys gave yourselves 100, 200, 300% increase. Jamaica barely got the public sector workers out there. Public sector barely got 20%. It really should be 50% in one sweep. I've just only said 50. I could have said 100. Really should be 100. And you will get premier work from us, and only one somebody bright, or only one somebody dons. Is not one person capable. Many of us in public sector, we are, and we want that opportunity as well, financially and socially. Give us. So I'm looking forward to see you being the party according to you. I have to have hope. Without hope, what do I have? Let's see. Time will tell. Guys, follow me on TikTok. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please share this message.